Why, God? Why? Let the others grow old, not me! I hope you guys enjoyed that reenactment of Friends. As you probably guessed, I just turned 30. And so in this video, I want to share with you guys 10 life lessons from each year of my 20s. From traveling the world during university, graduating law school, working full-time as a lawyer in the corporate world, to quitting my 6-figure corporate job to pursue a videography business with my best friend Jason, my 20s have been a wild ride. If you're new to the channel, hey guys, my name's Jono. I'm a former lawyer turned full-time filmmaker based in Sydney, Australia. And on this channel, we create videos about videography, self-development, and business. So let's rewind the clock back to 2015 when I turned 20. 2015 was the year I embarked on the biggest adventure of my life. I went overseas to study abroad in Austin, Texas for 6 months. And this experience taught me a really valuable life lesson: to pay less attention to the opinions of other people. Before going on exchange, as a 19-year-old kid at the time, I was someone who was very short on self-confidence. I used to be insecure about a lot of things in life, and I remember my mum even telling me, "Jono, you care way too much about what other people think." Even little things like, for example, since my teenage years, I haven't had the best skin. I've always struggled with breakouts and oily skin, and I used to feel extremely insecure about it. To the point where if I bumped into someone that I knew at uni or in public, I would actively make an effort to try and avoid them. All the decisions up to that point in my life were heavily dictated by what other people thought of me. But going on exchange and going overseas by myself for the very first time, I remember the moment when I hopped off the plane. I thought to myself, wow, I'm halfway across the world in a country where no one knows who I am. And that's the moment when I realized no one actually cares that much about what you do or how you look. Like many people, I grew up in a bubble surrounded by family, friends, and acquaintances, and at the time it seemed like their opinions were so important. But when I hopped on that plane by myself and I flew to a country halfway across the world, I realized there's so many people out there in the world who just literally don't care what you do. And that was an incredibly liberating feeling for me. I remember the day when I decided to quit my job as a lawyer to pursue my videography business full-time with my best friend Jason. I'm sure at the time, a lot of people in my circle, from family, friends, colleagues at work, they probably had different opinions on the action that I was taking, but I honestly didn't care at that point in time. I knew what I wanted to do and I just focused on that. But without that experience when I was 20 and learning to pay less attention to the opinions of other people, I don't think I would have been able to make that life decision. 2016, I had just come back from my semester abroad in Austin, Texas, and I caught the travel bug, and I was looking for my next adventure. And so in the summer of 2016, during my uni break, I decided to go volunteer as an English teacher in a small Polish town called Rzeszów. And during this period, that's when I learned the lesson of not being afraid to get outside my comfort zone. Living in a small Polish city, dealing with language barriers where people didn't really speak English very well, and to be frank, probably had never even seen an Asian looking dude before. Having to live in these communist style student accommodation dorms, it was a completely different environment to what I'm used to. And honestly, it was a bit of a culture shock when I first arrived. Even just the cold and seeing the sun set at 3 to 4 p.m. living in Australia, this was something that I had to get used to. But when you get thrusted into a different environment, you push yourself outside your comfort zone and you learn to adapt. I started to see uncomfortable moments and challenges as a good thing rather than something to be avoided. I remember during a 1-week break whilst I was teaching in Poland, I took a backpacking trip around Europe, and on Christmas Day, I just had found out that someone had stolen all my cash from my hostel room. It was 600 euros, which for a uni student at the time was a lot of money. But facing challenges like that in my early 20s made me realize that shit happens in life and you just have to adapt to it and embrace those challenges. Those challenges are ultimately what make us stronger in the long run. So moving on to 2017, after doing a bunch of traveling when I was 20 and 21, in 2017, I decided to buckle down, focus on my uni grades and my career. I set myself a goal of trying to graduate law school with honors and to secure a full-time graduate position as a lawyer before I graduated. I set that goal for myself so that I could take a gap semester in the second half of 2018. And that's where I learned the lesson of the importance of having a North Star, a meaningful goal in your life that gives you fulfillment and a sense of purpose. I've been a mad football fan since the age of 4, and at the age of 7 years old, I remember watching my first ever World Cup game. It was the 2002 World Cup, and it was the first game where Senegal upset the reigning champions at the time, France. After watching that game at 7 years old, my dream was to always attend a World Cup. And so when I set this goal of graduating law school with honors and securing a full-time graduate position before I graduated, if I could take care of my career and hit this goal, that would free me up when I graduated to go to Russia for the 2018 World Cup and backpack with my mates afterwards around Europe for a few months. And so for the next year and a half, I worked hard towards that goal. That was my North Star. I started getting distinctions and even high distinctions at uni. I started working at a law firm as a paralegal to gain experience and save money for my Europe trip. And at the start of 2018, after doing a summer internship, I secured a graduate position as a full-time lawyer for the following year. And from my experience, what I've come to realize is that when you come up with your North Star, you have to find something that has meaning to you. Otherwise, you won't have the hunger or desire to work hard towards it. If my North Star was just to get good grades and secure a graduate position once I graduated, I honestly don't think I would have worked so hard towards that goal. But because I attached this bucket list item of mine, this lifelong dream to attend a World Cup and to backpack around the world with my friends afterwards, this gave me the motivation to work hard and have a sense of fulfillment towards trying to achieve that goal. So in June 2018, I graduated from law school. I went with Jason and another mate to Russia to attend the World Cup. And afterwards, I backpacked with a few mates around Europe for 3 months. It was one of the best times of my life. By the time I got home in October 2018, I still had 3 to 4 months of spare time before starting my graduate position as a lawyer. And during this time, a lot of my friends decided to ask their work to start early so that they could earn some extra cash. But for me, I decided to use this time to explore some of my other interests. This was my experimentation phase, and during this period, that's where I learned the importance of following your natural curiosity. I remember during this period trying a bunch of different things, from starting a cooking blog, flipping items on eBay, printing out brochures and dropping them into my local area to advertise resume and cover letter writing services, creating websites. I remember buying online courses on a bunch of topics, from copywriting, blogging, YouTube, even a Pinterest course. And that's what ultimately pushed me to start a YouTube channel at the time with my best friend Jason called Simple Cookery, a cooking channel where we documented some of our favorite recipes. And looking back now, that's where our interest in creating videos and content creation really got started. If you had told me at the time that this little video creation interest of ours would eventually lead us to starting a videography side hustle, quitting my 6-figure corporate job and pursuing a videography business full time and documenting that process on YouTube, I wouldn't believe you. But that's the benefit of hindsight. As Steve Jobs says, you can't connect the dots looking forward, you can only connect them looking back. And it was only during this period of experimentation, of following my natural curiosity, that I stumbled on something that I really enjoyed doing. And so if you have a natural curiosity for something, don't be afraid to take the first step and see where it takes you. Oftentimes, if you're naturally interested in something, you're gonna work hard towards it and you're naturally gonna get good at it. At the start of 2019, I started my first full-time job as a lawyer. And in this job, I had a really amazing boss who used to tell me, Jono, the quickest way to learn anything in life is to throw yourself in the deep end and find out whether you can sink or swim. Oftentimes, we have a limiting belief and think that we can't do something. But when we get thrown into the deep end and we're forced to do it, we actually realize that we're more capable than we think we are. And from my experience, that's been the quickest way to learn anything. It was learning this mindset since starting my full-time job that ultimately pushed me at the start of my videography journey to offer to shoot my friend's wedding for free. At the time, I didn't even own a camera and I didn't know my camera settings. But despite everything, I decided to throw myself in the deep end and offer to film a once-in-a-lifetime event for one of my good friends. And let me tell you, just from that one day of shooting, my videography skills improved significantly. This was the year where I said yes to everything and just thrusted myself into the deep end in both my job and my videography journey. And ultimately, it's where I developed the most as a professional. This was the year where I realized the importance of having mentors. My first boss at work used to take me onto sales calls where he'd sell projects worth tens of thousands and even hundreds of thousands of dollars. And at the time, as someone who was new to the corporate world, who had never sold anything in his life, seeing this really blew my mind and I absorbed everything like a sponge. In each sales call, I just saw him following the same 3-step process. He would listen to the client's problem, he'd diagnose it, and then prescribe a solution. And so when I started my videography side hustle, when it came to me organizing meetings with clients, I'd follow the same steps in my meetings. Watching my boss gave me the self-belief that if he could sell projects in the tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars, I could sell my videography services for a few $100 or even a few $1,000. This was also the time when we bought our first proper camera in July 2019 and we started our videography journey. We found ourselves a mentor, Killian, who was a really talented content creator. We worked for him for free and he took us onto a lot of his shoots. And it was through this experience of getting mentored that ultimately pushed us to start organizing free portfolio shoots on our own to develop our videography skills. This year really taught me if you want to achieve something in life, go find someone who's already done it and just follow their roadmap. Watch their content, speak to them one-on-one to find out what they did, take action, follow what they did, and learn and build your own perspectives. Don't be afraid to throw yourself in the deep end because that's the quickest way to learn anything in life. 2020 was a year of hustle, and this is where I basically just worked like an animal. My daily schedule would be wake up, go to work, have dinner, work on my videography side hustle, sleep, and then repeat. And on the weekends, I'd be going on shoots and building my videography side hustle. And just from doing so much work, I managed to build a lot of valuable skills. I also built up my work resilience and I realized that I'm actually more capable than I think I am. But the biggest thing that I learned from this year was that if you want to learn any new skill, the key is repetition. And once you put in the time, you do the reps and you develop the skill. The great thing is that once you learn this skill, no one can ever take that away from you. During this period, I developed my skills as a lawyer, reviewing agreements, drafting documents, managing projects, communicating with clients. These skills were just developed through hours and hours of repetition, working late nights and putting in the reps. And this was how I also managed to develop my skills as a videographer, going on shoots, directing with people, managing client expectations, and editing videos. I remember there was this one month, I counted it all up, I had edited 120 videos in one single month. That's an insane amount of videos to edit. And when you put in that many reps, you're naturally gonna get better at that skill. Because it's only through repetition and experience that you start realizing what works and doesn't work. And that's what ultimately builds your expertise in a particular area. There's a common saying which goes, it takes 10,000 hours to master a skill. Now, I don't know where this 10,000 hours comes from, but the premise of the quote I completely agree with. To get good at any skill, you just need to put in the time and the reps in order to learn it. For example, these days, we're trying to learn the skill of YouTube and building an audience. And that's why this year in 2025, we've actually set ourselves the goal to upload 2 YouTube videos per week because we know we just need to put in the reps to get better at the skill. 2021, this was my 3rd year working in the corporate world, and this was the year where I felt like I needed to make a change. It was a year that was filled with decision fatigue as to whether or not I should make the jump, quit my job, and go full-time into entrepreneurship. At the time, our videography side hustle was going really well. We were consistently making $10,000 to $15,000 per month between both Jason and I, and we even reached $20,000 in one month on one occasion. So we had built the side hustle up to a point where if I was to make the jump, it would be enough to sustain a full-time income for both Jason and myself. I remember even leading up to the day where I decided to call my boss and tell him that I was going to quit. I was still watching YouTube videos of other people talk through their thought process of quitting their 9 to 5. It was something that I felt like I really wanted to do, and it was on my mind for a few months, but I still had so many doubts about it. Am I wasting my law degree and the prospects of a promising legal career? A 6-figure salary is really comfortable. Did I want to give that up? What if our business didn't work out? My mind was filled with self-doubt, but ultimately what ended up swaying my decision was just intuition, a gut feeling that I had. I felt like the time was right. I had learned a lot of key skills working in the corporate world. I had built a great foundation through our videography side hustle. And as a 26-year-old at the time with no family and no mortgage, I felt like the time was right to take a risk in life. There's a book called The 5-Second Rule that says, the moment you have an instinct to act on a goal, you must 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and physically move, or your brain will stop you. And I think this rule has helped me make a lot of key life decisions in my 20s. If you have this gut feeling and you've been wanting to do something for a while now, that's a pretty good sign that you should take action and move towards that goal. 2022 was the scariest year of my life. It was the year where I left a comfortable, well-respected 6-figure job as a lawyer to pursue a different path, to pursue a videography business with my best friend, Jason. There's a book which one of our subscribers recently told me about called The Pathless Path. And in the book, the author talks about 2 paths, the default path and the pathless path. The default path is the path that many high performers embark on. Get good grades, get a high paying job, climb up the corporate ladder, retire and die. The path is comfortable and there's an element of certainty and safety. And this was the path that I was on up until 2020. It would have been very easy for me to stay on the default path path to stay in my six-figure corporate job and climb the corporate ladder over the next 40 years of my career. But I've always been a person who likes to push myself and find new challenges. And I felt this path of trying to climb the corporate ladder for the next 40 years of my life just didn't seem to excite me. And so I decided to embark on what the book refers to as the pathless path. On the pathless path, the goal is not to find a job, make money, build a business, or achieve any other metric. It's to actively and consciously search for the work that you want to keep doing. This was the year where I learned to embrace the pathless path, to embrace uncertainty and just take action to make shit happen. 2023 was the year that our videography business hit the six-figure milestone. And that was when I realized we can make it on our own. More importantly, we learned about the importance of marketing and sales. After a full year in business and experimenting with a bunch of things, 2023 was a year when we had a clearer idea of what we actually sold. We sold brand story video packages to help businesses connect with their customers and differentiate themselves from their competition. And we sold wedding photography and videography packages to couples to help them document their lifelong memories. Once we got clear on what we actually offered, we learned how to create a marketing plan to consistently tell people about our services, and we learned how to effectively run sales meetings to turn interested prospects into paying customers. It was learning to focus on these two things, marketing and sales, that allowed us to turn our little videography side hustle into a multi-six-figure business. And so if you can learn, develop, and get good at these two things, marketing and sales, you'll have the skills to make it on your own. 2024, the third year into taking the leap and pursuing our dreams, this was the time when our business started to grow. At this point, our brand became a little bit more established and we started bringing in more and more projects. We finally hit a long-term goal of ours when we started pursuing our videography business full-time, which was to make $40,000 in a single month. But it was during the first half of 2024 where we started to feel a little bit burnt out. From doing wedding shoots on the weekends, corporate projects during the weekdays, managing all the editing backlog that came from those projects, whilst trying to create YouTube videos for our community at the same time, we started to realize that we can't do everything ourselves. We learned that if we wanted to keep growing in our business, we had to learn how to use leverage. Now, in his book, Naval Ravikant talks about 4 different types of leverage: money, labor, code, and media. At first, we attempted to use the leverage of labor. We hired our first full-time employee, a full-time editor, to help us manage our editing backlog, and we built a team of freelance photographers and videographers to help us with our shoots. But from that experience, what we came to realize was that we didn't enjoy managing people. I think the skill of recruiting, training, and managing good talent is something that we still need to improve on going forward. But at the time, using content and media as a form of leverage seemed to be more aligned with our long-term goals. And so we embarked on a process of turning our experience and expertise into digital products. We looked back at our email inbox and our Google Drive over the last 4 years since starting our videography side hustle and took out all the key templates, documents, and packages that helped us the most in starting as complete beginners in 2019 to building a 6-figure videography business. And we bundled that all up into a digital product called the Filmmaker Starter Kit. We started doing one-on-one coaching calls with subscribers in our community to learn more about the pain points you're facing as beginner videographers and the things that you found most helpful. We were able to learn what practical exercises allowed you guys to take massive action towards your goals and achieve the biggest transformations. And we took that roadmap and those exercises and put them into a self-paced course called the Filmmaker Accelerator. Personally, having dabbled in the labor form of leverage and the media form of leverage in 2024, looking back now, I can honestly say the media form of leverage is more fulfilling from my point of view. The fact that I can create a YouTube video like this once and then have people watch it years later and still gain value and make a positive impact on their life is incredibly fulfilling. Like just the other day, I received an Instagram message from a subscriber of ours who had watched one of our videos, reached out to a business, did a free portfolio shoot, and managed to attract their first paying client. Honestly, just reading that message and knowing that I helped someone without me actually having to physically put in any further work was a really cool feeling. And so that sums up the 10 biggest lessons that I've learned in each year of my 20s. I hope you guys found this useful. From speaking to a lot of you guys one-on-one in our coaching program, I know that many of you guys are in your early to mid 20s and you might not be sure as to which direction you want to take in life. So I hope by documenting my 20s and sharing some of the key lessons that I've learned, you find it insightful and hopefully helpful for your own journey. This was a long and bit of a rambly video, but I hope you guys found this useful. Give it a like, subscribe down below if you want to get more videos just like this. Go check out our self-paced online course, the Filmmaker Accelerator, which helps you turn your passion for videography and content creation into a high income skill. Go check out the Filmmaker Starter Kit, which contains a roadmap, templates, and all the tools that we use to go from complete beginners in 2019 to running a six-figure videography business. And go sign up to a free email newsletter, The Creative Club, where we share more personal insights and stories from our journey. Go check out this video right here on how I became a videographer in 3 months. I'll see you guys in the next video. Stay focused.